South Carolina Republican Congressman Trey Gowdy is chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He joins us tonight from Greenville. Welcome back to Special Report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brett.
First of all, on the Kavanaugh situation, your thoughts about where we are now and this latest letter from her attorney that they're now negotiating on her to testify.
It's an incredibly serious allegation that, in my judgment, Brett, is not mitigated by the passage of time. It's an equally straightforward denial by Judge Kavanaugh. When the suspect says, "I was not even at the scene of the party," that's a classic credibility context. One witness says that I was physically and sexually assaulted to the point that I was in fear for my life. And the person that she names as the suspect says I was not even at the party. So the only way I know to reconcile that is for Dr. Ford to testify and for Judge Kavanaugh to testify, and for good, fair, but firm questions to be asked of both. I don't know how an FBI investigation would help unless they're able to locate witnesses that can either corroborate or contradict. There is no crime scene to analyze. There are no forensics to analyze. And the FBI can't interview her and Judge Kavanaugh and then repeat back what they say. You can't determine credibility that way. So I hope that she comes. I hope that she will testify. I think she'll be treated fairly. I would hope that she would. And I think Judge Kavanaugh should also be given an opportunity to respond to these allegations.
You mentioned the FBI investigation call, and that really is what Democrats are saying the most. Here is Senator Doug Jones and also Sheldon Whitehouse.
I prosecuted 38-year-old cases, so they're pretty good about locating witnesses and finding people. That's their job. They're a hell of a lot better at it than the Senate majority or minority staff. That's what the FBI does. That's what they're trained to do.
But even if they were to ram this guy through, as soon as Democrats get gavels, we're going to want to get to the bottom of this.
If the Democrats win back the House and or the Senate, Democrats will investigate what happened.
I am confident of that, and I think we'll also be investigating why the FBI stood down its background investigation when this came up.
All right, there's two. I want one more. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand just a few moments ago, earlier this afternoon.
Judge Kavanaugh has not asked to have the FBI review these claims. Is that the reaction of an innocent person? It is not. Can you get reaction to all of those?
Wow. When I walked into the studio tonight, there was a presumption of innocence, and you did not have to prove your innocence. So I'm a little surprised at what the senator from New York said. Brett, I'll tell you this. I think that Dr. Ford met with Democrat legislators before the FBI investigated it. I know that she talked to the Washington Post before the FBI investigated it. The FBI does not have jurisdiction over state sex assault claims. If they want to locate witnesses, if there are witnesses that know whether or not this happened, I'm all for it, and I'm all for them being compelled to come testify. But the FBI does not have jurisdiction over a state sex assault claim, and Judge Kavanaugh does not have the burden of proving his innocence. He has said he was not present. The last time I checked, the government has the burden of proof in a criminal case. Now, if someone argues, well, this isn't criminal, you know, Brett, he was vetted for the second highest court in the land 15 years ago. These are incredibly serious allegations. If they make you unfit for the highest court in the land, would they also not make you unfit for the second highest court in the land?
Sounds like it's going to continue even if he gets through, according to Sheldon Whitehouse. I want to turn topics. The Senate Judicial Committee is obviously investigating all that, and they say they're on top of the Kavanaugh investigation, even though Democrats are not taking part. Now to the topic of the declassification. Here's the former CIA director on this order by the president to declassify these documents and texts.
I think they should continue to push. If Mr. Trump and the White House does not relent, well, then I think they have some decisions to make, whether or not they're going to just not follow that direction and be fired, or to resign. They have an obligation, since they took an oath of office to the Constitution of the United States, not to Mr. Trump, to uphold their responsibilities.
So he's essentially saying to intelligence officials, don't do it.
I've read every document that is under consideration. Brett, I don't think the release of this information is going to change anyone's mind. It's certainly not going to change John Brennan's mind, because remember, he wanted Donald Trump put on the dustbin of history. He's accused him of treasonous conduct. John Brennan is as responsible for the American public being divided on this issue as anyone I can possibly think of. So I honestly, no disrespect intended to him, could really give a damn less what John Brennan thinks the president or the intelligence agency should do. He's part of the reason that we are in this historic conundrum. I've read it. Other than one document related to George Papadopoulos, I don't think people are going to be that interested in it. And I don't think any minds are going to be changed. I think the bias of Peter Strzok has resulted in us having a hung jury, frankly, no matter what comes out.
And for all the talk about concern on sources and methods, you're one of the only people who's read through the unredacted papers. What about that?
I would tell Chris and Dan Coates and everyone else, by the way, all of whom were Trump appointees, that if you are concerned about sources and methods, if you're concerned about relationships with friendly foreign governments, then you need to go sit down with the president and say, look, there's a way we can get this information out, but safeguard sources and methods. I would think the president would be open to that. In fact, I know he would. So if Chris is concerned, if Dan Coates is concerned, they have unfettered access to the president, and they can go make the case. I've read it. Some of it's embarrassing for the Department of Justice. Some of it's embarrassing for the FBI. Embarrassment is not a reason to classify something. So a lot of it should be embarrassing to John Brennan. And maybe therein lies why he is so adamant that this information not be released. I've read it. I don't think it's going to change anyone's mind. But I've seen nothing in it that is going to jeopardize the national security interests of this country.
Last thing quickly, Mr. Chairman, do you think Attorney General Sessions keeps his job? The president continues talking about the Attorney General the other day, telling the Hill, I don't have an Attorney General.
Brett, I think we're at the point of irreconcilable differences in this relationship, and I think he keeps Jeff Sessions until a sufficient number of Republican senators tell the president that someone else can be confirmed. I don't know who that person could be in this hyper-political environment. I hate it. That job, of all the cabinet-level jobs, that is the one that I am most interested in having the right person in. And I hate that the president's relationship with Jeff Sessions has become what it is, and I hate that it's become public. But I think he's going to be the AG until someone else can be confirmed, and I don't know who that person would be.
Is it you?
Heavens, no. I'm not sure I could get the vote of my two Republican, well, Tim Scott probably, but Lindsey, I think, would be undecided.
Last thing. We last talked, you said you hadn't seen any evidence of Russian collusion at all. Still true today?
Yeah, Brett, the only thing is Adam Schiff in March of 2017 saying he had evidence that was more than circumstantial but not direct. And, oh, by the way, there is no such thing. But if you can lay aside Adam Schiff, the wannabe senator from California, no one has presented any evidence. And the best way for that to be proven is release all the transcripts of all the witness interviews we did during 2017 down at House Intel. All of them. Jared Kushner, Donald Trump Jr., Susan Rice, Samantha Power, release all of them, because I ask every witness, give me all the evidence you have of collusion, coordination, conspiracy, regardless of whether or not you even believed it. Every bit of evidence you have, no one had anything. So there is no evidence of collusion, which is why the Democrats have pivoted to obstruction of justice.
Mr. Chairman, as always, we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brett.